All right, welcome everyone to our February meeting for the STAR PTA. Again, it seems like we just met a couple weeks ago because we did. We had a late January meeting, but we're back on track with our first Tuesdays of the month. So thanks everybody for being available so quickly. Also, just a heads up, if you look in the agenda at the bottom, we have 2 more regular PTA meetings, and then that's kind of it. That doesn't mean that the business is done, but we have 2 more regular meetings. And then in May, we have our next round of elections. And I just want to put that out there. You know, if folks are interested in being board members on the PTA, stepping into different roles, all that kind of stuff, we'll be having those elections in May. So be prepared for that. I'll have to step down as president this year because I've done my 2 years max term limit. So definitely we'll need a new PTA president and all that kind of stuff. So just stuff to think about in the coming months.
So Sean, you could run for vice president.
Yeah, I probably I'll be there somewhere. I'll be there to support for sure. All right, cool. So let's get into it. And I know Darlene, you have to jump off. So we'll get straight into the principals report and any questions that you might have for you. So you can go for it, Darlene.
Okay, thank you. My meeting might also get postponed, so fingers crossed. Let's see. So my report is going to be pretty short this evening. I wanted to just give everyone an update. Normally this time of year, we would be sending out promotion and doubt notices to families if we were concerned about students being held over. I just wanted everyone to know, because I've gotten a lot of questions about this. Right now, we're really waiting for the Department of Education to give us guidance around what the promotional criteria is going to be this year. There is a possibility that they may say that all students should be promoted, but we're still waiting to hear. Again, next week is normally the time that we would inform families. So the fact that the Department of Education has told us to hold off and wait means that there might be some change in the guidance. And so as that happens, I'll definitely make sure families all know. Due to the fact that we really are not sure about where we are in terms of that specifically, we normally give out January progress reports to families. So this would be a very simple kind of lighter version of a report card where we would tell you how your child is doing in reading, writing, and math at this time of year. So right now we're kind of holding off and waiting, and knowing that the February break is coming and parent-teacher conferences are now March 2nd and March 3rd. We know that we're just going to hold on to all of the data and the information we have, and we're going to have the March parent-teacher conferences to really be able to share with families what data we have so far on students, and specifically which students we're really concerned about academically who may not have met the promotional criteria. So having said that, we are very aware of the fact that we are in a pandemic, and most of our students are academically behind. And so it's important for us to keep in mind that there's been a lot of interrupted learning. And so we're taking that all into account. We also know that it's very important for us to make sure that we're not putting students in a position where they're so far behind that they struggle, which could lead to anxiety and further, concerns around, how they're doing emotionally and socially. So we just want to make sure that everyone knows that right now we're kind of in a pause mode, and hopefully we'll get some more news, especially over the next 2 weeks, knowing that the February break is coming. And then when we come back, we're practically in March. So the DOE is kind of cutting it close. I think we're all used to that. And sometimes we can even say they're a little bit late to the game. So, as we're in this holding pattern, I'll definitely be in touch with all of you. The next thing I want to talk about was school testing. So some of you have asked around testing, especially those of you whose child may be in third grade or higher, what's going on with testing this year. So right now, the state has not released any information around what state testing will look like. But we do know that the federal government has not waived state tests for this year. So the federal government made an announcement last week on Thursday that they are not waiving state tests. And so our federal funding from the federal government is dependent on us actually having the kids having our education department administer state exams for accountability measures. So I wanted to make sure that families were aware of that. Last year, the Department of Education in New York State decided to shorten the length of the test and make it 1 day instead of 3 days for ELA, and 1 day for math instead of 2 days for math. And that, I think, was a good compromise. They also offered for families to opt into taking the test. So if you wanted your child to take the test, you actually had to reach out to the school and let us know, so that families didn't feel pressured, knowing that their child might not have had continued learning for the entire school year and then have to take a standardized test. So as we find out more, the New York State will release whether or not the test will be 1 day or 3 days. Hopefully over the next week. We've been told that they're going to be telling us really, over the next week or two. So as I hear from that, families who are parents of students who are in third, fourth, and fifth grade will hear from us around that. I also think it's important to understand that when we think about testing, before we had a pandemic, students of color were behind. And I don't really mean behind, I mean that there was an achievement gap. And because of, institutionalized racism in education, many of our students have not been able to, quote unquote, meet these standardized test standards. But I do question whether or not they're appropriate for our students to begin with. And I think that it's going to be really interesting to have conversations with all of you over the next few weeks around the validity of testing and the efficiency and efficacy of testing. So our next town hall meeting is next week on Tuesday, on the 15th, and I hope you can join me for more conversations around this. And I'll be sending out a reminder about the town hall meeting tomorrow and a special kind of invitation to our upper grade families to join us in really thinking about what testing can look like in the future at our school. And having said that, I think I've said everything. Just remember that parent-teacher conferences are going to be happening on March 2nd and March 3rd. So please be sure to set up a virtual appointment with your child's classroom teacher. The appointments are virtual, and we're finding that we have a really great turnout with virtual appointments. So please look for that invite from your child's teacher soon. And I think that's everything. I don't know if you wanted to do questions and answers now, Sean, or want to wait for a little while, and I can tell you if I have to jump off the call.
Yeah, before you get to
question.
questions, before we get there, I just wanted to share also too, on the vein of what you were saying, Darlene. There's this event happening on Thursday, kind of speaking to the question on standardized testing and institutional racism. I'm gonna share the link in the chat, and this is Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. This is a great conversation to join, especially if you don't kind of even know what the concepts around like why standardized tests are linked to racism. And this panel from the Abolitionist Teaching Network is a really, really strong panel, worth checking out. And that's gonna be Thursday at 8 p.m. So I'll share that in the link. So yeah, let's get in some question and answers. And Helen, you go for it.
Yeah, so I think about this every morning when I drop Yasmin off, and then I forget to ask, are we going to get crossing guard on First Avenue? Because Tina hasn't been there for a while, and I was just wondering if there's a replacement for her in the interim until she comes back, or not, or if she even is coming.
So I actually was not aware that she wasn't she wasn't on the corner. I was under the impression that she was actually retiring at the end of June. Do you think that it's a possibility that she's retired or that she might be on vacation? Or have you heard anything in particular?
Um, I can tell you privately,
Okay.
right? But
Okay. But do you anticipate that we won't have a crossing guard for a while?
no, I thought she was coming back.
Okay.
And then,
All
but
right.
she's not back, and it just concerns me with that particular corner because it is First Ave. So you have the SBS, and then you have the regular bus, and then you have all the cars
Yeah.
that come up First Avenue, like it's like, you know, the NASCAR runway. So I was just curious.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that to me. Honestly, I walk across Avenue A, so I don't get to see what's going on First Avenue. So I'm really happy that you mentioned that. I mean, I feel like I just saw the crossing guard there the other day. So now, it's probably clearly been, at least a while. So I will look into that and I will touch base with you. Thank you so much for letting me.
Any other questions or things that you want to share with Darlene while we have her?
Hello.
Hey, Michelle.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to just touch base with the bathroom issue again, because my daughter has been coming home this week saying that she's able to use it, but sometimes the shared bathroom, I think with 210, that the conditions are I guess some flush still and some don't flush, but there's like the cleanliness is not there. So some of the kids are not, I guess, in the evening. I'm not evening, the afternoon. By the time the afternoon for them to come use the bathroom, they're not able to use the bathroom.
Thank you for asking that question. We have been in contact with the Division of School Facilities, and we know that the major issue of the bathroom is this water sub pump. The water sub pump we've been waiting on it for back order for several months now. And so right now we've been told that it should be arriving around March 27th. And all of the asbestos work that needed to be done and the slab work, there needed to be concrete slabs laid out. That was actually finished this past weekend. And so it's basically, the whole space is basically set up for this sub pump to come in. I'm sorry, it's a water booster pump. I was told not to call it a sub pump. So the water booster pump hopefully will be here by late March, early April. And I've been told it won't take long to install once it's there. Maybe a matter of, 1 to 2 weeks. So I think the other concern is that, number one, it's unfortunate that we have to wait that long for this repair to finally happen. But meanwhile, they have kind of a patchwork repair that they do. If we find that the toilets aren't flushing, students have to let us know right away. We're asking them to let us know right away. While we do have custodial workers who check and do rounds, they're often cleaning or working on other issues. And so we have to often reach out to them to let them know the toilets are not flushing or there's no water coming to the 4th floor, because then they have to go to the basement and adjust the water pump that's there to make sure that water is flushed up to the top floor. So we are still experiencing times where by the time you get to the late morning or the early afternoon, as you mentioned, Michelle, the toilets are, what the kids say is it's really dirty, or I don't want to go to the bathroom. And so your daughter is, absolutely right that, there are times where that's still happening. Not as often as it was, I would say, in December, because the kids have been really good about letting us know right away. And so we've been able to reach out to the custodian and they try and, they basically run downstairs and fix it immediately. They know that this is a priority and they really know that, we're kind of at on our last leg and really frustrated. And so they're trying to be as responsive as possible. And then we do have 2 additional cleaners in the evening. They're being trained still. And so there's still little things like making sure all the toilet paper is replenished in the evening. So in the morning, it's full when we get there. And making sure that during the afternoon, somebody checks to make sure that there's toilet paper and liquid soap. And so those are things that, you know, they're really continuing to train the staff on. And so as teachers report issues that are happening in the building, I'm making sure the head custodian knows and the custodial firemen know, so that they're training the new people to make sure it's better every day and that there's progress. And so it's a work in progress. You know, I can't complain about the custodial staff anymore, which I used to complain about. And so we're excited with the new people that we have. They're very good. It's just a matter of them learning the job. But we're hoping that, you know, we'll have all of these bathroom issues finally fixed when we get that water booster pump.
Awesome. Any other questions? Darlene, I did notice that we welcomed back someone to our community today. You want to speak about what that means for you and support for parents?
Sure. So we were happy that this week Ms. Friedman is back with us. She is excited to be a new mommy. She's excited to be here at Star Academy. So we're really, really happy that she's back. I know that there are about 10 things she did today that I would normally have to do, or I wouldn't get to, or I wouldn't do well. And so it was really nice to have my partner back. So I'm sure you'll all see her either at morning arrival or, you know, in some of our upcoming meetings. But yeah, it's been great, of course, to be with my staff and the kids, but it's also been nice to have some help, some more help, I should say. So thanks for mentioning that, Sean. Yeah. Highlight of the week. And of course, there are lots of new cute baby pictures of her baby Davi in the office. So that's fun too.
Yeah, for sure. I you know, for the newer parents who maybe are like first or second year at STAR or new to the PTA, Jody has been really instrumental in supporting the PTA, along with Darlene, of course, that's without doubt. But Jody has been really supportive of us, and so now we'll have Jody, Darlene, Shy. We got the whole crew. We're fully supported, so it's exciting. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I did have a question to ask.
Go for it.
Regarding, I guess, the new vegan, what the mayor has announced, and that was a surprise to me. I wasn't, you know, because I didn't hear anything from you guys. But how is that going with that, the new vegan lunch menu on Fridays? And do you think that's something that's going to last?
Sorry, I'm on mute. I have not had a chance to see exactly what the menu is yet, but from what you've heard, Michelle, has that actually started yet? I didn't think that the vegan meals had started yet.
It did start this past Friday. Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Hey,
Sorry, my
Shy.
camera didn't everyone. I was a little razzled today, so I'm just everywhere. However, I'm glad to be here tonight. The vegan Fridays have started this past Friday. However, there is an option always for students to have a meat option. Students just have to request it. So if your child still wants meat on Fridays or would like another option, an alternative option, there is still that option on Fridays. They just have to ask it. So there's peanut butter and jelly. The highlight is the vegan meal, and then there is a meat option lunch serving. I did walk around on Friday to see if the kids were engaging in it and if they were taking to it. Yeah, I guess we'll see with more Fridays to come.
Yeah, I would add too that with any of these new programs, especially since it's so sudden, you know, healthy food is always something like I think we, as parents, we want healthy food 5 days a week, options for all kids 5 days a week. But you know, with the rollout of any new program, it's going to take a while, especially with something like a vegan menu. You know, it'll take a while for us to kind of get through it. I know that there was a lot of excitement on the you know, kitchen staff side of trying out something new and different options. And I saw a lot of citywide coverage about that. And we'll see from week to week how it goes for sure. But it is very sudden. All right, cool.
Hello?
Yep.
But yeah, I guess the reason why I was asking was because, like I said, I didn't know about that, and that kind of does serve my daughter a little well. I am excited about it. I guess I was just wondering I guess being that it's new, if that would be something that parental involvement or like PTA involvement or like the school, can they have some sort of involvement in what that vegan menu would look like in the near future? Or is this something that's coming from like vendors per se, you know, and like what kind of vendors are they using to supply like the vegan meal? Or is this something that they're doing, like you said, the kitchen staff, are they doing it fresh?
So we have ovens to heat food up, but they wouldn't necessarily be cooking and preparing the food necessarily in our school kitchen. And as far as the menu, we would have to reach out to our food manager to find out, one, if we could rearrange the order of the menu, because usually they have several different options, but you can really only choose either, you know, 4 out of the, you know, let's say 7 options, I'm kind of making this up, or you would have to rotate the options that are given in a certain way, and you can decide which goes the first week of the month, second week of the month, third week. But in general, they won't give you as many choices around the content of the food, changing recipes, or using specific vendors. They have, you know, very strict standards about the vendors they're going to use, about making sure that they're meeting the USDA requirements. So I think in the past, we've often had meetings where we're able to kind of engage PTA members in, you know, making decisions around the menu. But with this pandemic, we haven't had as many options. We've pretty much been told we just have to get what we get. So I will reach out to our school food manager, and Shai will reach out also, and we'll figure out how many options we have, and then whether or not we can have some input as to, you know, what foods are being served.
Yeah, and also too, there's I think on the advocacy front, there's a lot of already well-established healthy food advocacy groups in New York City for school lunches. It's a movement that's not new. It's been something that's been around for a long time. But with the new administration being kind of like health food focused, it's an opportunity that if you want to get involved in those groups and see how it can work, you know, in our district, in our school, I can share some of those links of different advocacy groups that you can reach out to and try to get engaged with. So there's a moment that we have that we can actually push for some potential radical change on the kids' menus and get some mayoral support. All right, cool. So let's Darlene, I don't know if you have to jump off, but just for the sake of the agenda, maybe we get to the other parts of the agenda. If Darlene, you're still around and still some questions are lingering at the end, maybe we could tackle some then. All right, cool. And I know Maggie put in the chat that she has to drop off. She's in transit. And Maggie was going to report on the kindness gram. Jenny, I don't know if you're available to speak to the kindness gram. Maybe not. Oh.
Hey, sorry, give me a second. I'm just gotta move to the other part of the house so there's not an echo. Sure, so you want me to talk about that now? I'm not able to turn my camera on, but I can speak to it.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, sorry, I don't know. The connection might be a little bit bad, but so with the kindness gram, what we're doing this year, instead of our traditional candy gram, which is happens normally around Valentine's Day, what was proposed at our not our last fundraising committee meeting, but the one prior to that, was that we change it to kindness gram, which is more incorporating like spreading kindness throughout our school and showing that through sending a gram, which is very similar to what we did for Candygram, sending a gram of kindness along with either a candy or a little toy to, you know, other students, teachers, and administration. So this year, our kindness gram will actually begin tomorrow from 7:45 to about 8:30 in front of the 3rd Street entrance and right in front of the school, kind of where we had our bake sale, if folks were around for that in December, not last month, I think. I'm getting thrown off because it feels like a blur. February, already mid-February, and I'm like, we're about to be in March. But in any case, so our kindness gram will be 3 days long from Wednesday to Friday, each day again from 7:45 to 8:30 in the morning, and then again from 2:30 to about 2:15, 3:30 in the afternoon. We're still in need of some more volunteers, so if folks are interested in plugging in, like helping out in the morning for setup around 7:15 is usually when we begin to set up. Let us know. We also can still use some volunteers for, you know, setting up for the afternoon time. We do have a number of people that signed up to help with the gram writing and distribution. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know what else you would like me to include, but all grams will also be delivered on Monday, February 14th to all either classrooms or other staff that may receive some kindness grams. Am I leaving anything out? I probably am. I don't know if you want to fill in. Oh, and all the proceeds that we do collect from the kindness gram are going to go to the 5th grade experience. We don't know what that looks like yet, as we're trying to connect with Ms. Parker and the 5th grade class and also parents to see what it is that they would kind of like to do this year. I know we talked about in the last meeting, is there going to be a class trip? We don't know yet because of COVID and things like that. But all proceeds that we collect will go to supporting our 5th grade class and their graduation.
All right, awesome. Yeah, the only thing I would add is that in addition to volunteers, especially for the morning shifts, definitely encourage everyone to buy grams. Buy grams for, you know, classrooms, for staff. You know, they're only $1 or $2 or $3 each or whatever. And I know some people have just like, you know, oh, how many kids are in the class? This 13 kids, I'll buy 13 grams. So we definitely encourage our folks to do that. Also, we'll post it on the dojo and we'll have it at the table, but we'll have the QR code for our PayPal. So if people just want to make a financial contribution directly to the 5th grade graduation experience, if you want to drop, you know, $1, $2, $300, whatever you want to give, all of that stuff within the window of these 3 days will go to fundraising for that effort. Obviously, we could do it afterwards too if you want to make a contribution afterwards, but just like kind of an extra push for that. I think last year we were able to raise like $700 or $800, and there's still some rollover from that because we only did like a pizza party last year. But you know, the more the better. We talked about ideas of like if we raise enough money, in addition to if there's a potential trip, thinking about maybe graduation swag, like a graduation shirt or sweater, you know, yard party, all these kind of things. So the more money we raise, the more things we can do for our fifth graders. Any questions, thoughts on the kindness gram this year? Okay, awesome. Thanks, Jenny. And yeah, Darlene, the kindness gram, and you know, having a non-candy option. We don't need that much candy. We got enough candy. All right, cool. So next we'll go into garden committee. I think Ellen, just do we have any updates, or is it just similar to what we talked about last meeting, and just maybe a reminder on the date of our next meeting?
Yeah, the next meeting is going to be February 18th at 8:45 in the garden. Hopefully the weather permits so that we can hang out outside for a little bit at least to keep the planning going for the spring, the growing season. A couple things that are on deck, hopefully like either later this week or into next week. We're almost done with a teacher survey, which at a minimum will be just like trying to kind of get some inventory on which teachers and how many growing kits we have for starting seeds in the classrooms. So similar to kind of the paper whites, we're going to be appealing to classes at TNS and STAR to grow seeds in the classrooms that will then become the seedlings that go into the garden and grow in the garden. I think we're also hoping to be able to get like some feedback from teachers about like what their curriculum and their learning opportunities are looking like, where we could partner with them. About obviously like growing plants, various life cycles, also like pollinators is an area that we'd like to ideally like focus on. So just getting some feedback of like, are those hitting the right notes for our educators and our kids? And also just having an opportunity for teachers that want to give us other ideas to contribute. So hopefully that will go out soon. Darlene, I think we're hoping to like definitely have your eye on that before it goes out to teachers, of course. So look out for that. I'll email you. And then thank you, Jenny. We've been looking at like a lot of different grants. There were some deadlines for grants that were this week, and we didn't really get everything sorted out for that. But there's another grant through, I believe it's the like New York Garden Society. That's the deadline for that is the 15th. So we are hoping to have a little bit more of like a fleshed out like proposal and budget. We can ask for like up to $1,500. And I think there's also a component where that like New York Garden Society would be able to come on site and like support us either as like parent volunteers or even like potentially some of the like kids and teachers to like learn about like gardening and how to maintain the garden that we have. So we're hoping for that. Like that will really focus on just kind of what I said, like the growing seeds in the classrooms, hopefully help us fund like potentially getting butterfly, like caterpillars for classrooms to potentially hatch butterflies, and then having like, some kind of like full circle event, or even like having monies to purchase like extra food. So those classes that would like to grow like edible, like veggies and herbs in the garden instead of like pollinator flowers, they could have some kind of like also full circle type of event if the like health and safety parameters permit, to like try a dish made of some of the foods that they maybe grew from like seed to plant to fruition. So trying to just kind of like make a full circle out of the full circle of the life cycle of the growing season as best as we can. So, and anyone that has ideas, you know, please like feel free to let me know, email me or text me, or if you want to be on the, you know, garden, we have a WhatsApp chat that we kind of like put whatever, you know, on. So if you're interested and want to like contribute to ideas or like any of those processes, just let me know. And please come out on the 18th if you'd like to be involved.
Thanks, Ellen. And also another great thing to have Jody back. Jody, a former science teacher, has been a big supporter of our garden and our garden committee. So definitely make that connection this week if you can, Ellen. Cool. So be on the lookout for our next meeting. Join if you can. It's gonna be, you know, it's the start of the spring, thankfully. So it's gonna be a lot of cool things to do. So the next thing is kind of like just putting it on people's radar more than a fleshed out discussion. But the big thing that's happening next month is our Readathon, our annual Readathon. And so it's a way to promote reading amongst our kids and community, but also a fundraising opportunity. In fact, it has traditionally and historically been the biggest fundraiser of the year for us, raising a few $1,000s every year to support programming at the school. We haven't done it because of the pandemic for a while, but we're gonna do it this year. And for those who've never experienced it, basically it's like throughout the month of March, we ask participating families and children to make a commitment, a pledge of how much reading they're gonna do in a given month. So it could be like how many hours they're gonna spend reading, or how many pages, or how many picture books, you know, depending on how they want to measure it, you know, based on their reading level and their age and all that kind of stuff. But they create this pledge, and then they get their families, friends, and people from the community to contribute financially to support them. So it's like, you know, like when you go run, if you ever did like a AIDS walk or a cancer awareness 5K or something like that, you're like doing this effort, but asking people to donate to you as a means of fundraise. So it's kind of the same kind of concept. So we're gonna be in our next fundraising committee meeting, which we haven't set the date for, but it'll be in the next week or two. We're going to be doing the initial planning for the Readathon, and we're gonna need some, you know, support. So if you're interested in, you know, what the Readathon is, if you've done it in the past, if you want to promote literacy at our school, all those kind of things, let us know so we can make sure to invite you to the next fundraising committee meeting. Any questions about the Readathon, or anyone who's been here for a few years and maybe has done a Readathon in the past want to share their experience?
I don't mind sharing.
Go for it, Brenda.
It is, even though sometimes the kids are like, I gotta read a book, especially like on the weekends or out of school. Normally I know it comes like when you have to like, I think it's the app or something that you go on the site and you input what this is, and then you pass it around to, you know, to the family or friends, and you're like, hey, look, so and so read a book today, this many pages or whatever. And that kids actually see the money that whoever donated to them to read. And then at the end of it, they're actually able to get prizes. So the kids are able to purchase little prizes that they want: pencils, erasers, pencil cases, like little stuff to give them more of an initiative. I know my kids were kind of reluctant, like, oh, okay, I'll read a book. But just I'm like, well, you know, now if you do it for school and they give you, you know, you can ask somebody to donate, you could get erasers and you could get this. So it was fun watching the kids picking their little prizes, $1, $2, you know, like little knickknacks, like how you call, like prizes that you get at a little fair or something, like stuff like that. So it made it a little more worth it and more, oh, I'll read 2 books today versus like I'll read 1 page kind of situation. So it really is fun for the kids to do.
like unlocking achievements and getting little novelty
Yeah,
gifts.
exactly. So, to give them more of a little push to want to pick up the book versus a handheld game.
Awesome. Thanks, Brenda. Cool. All right. So be on the lookout for more announcements about that, either in our WhatsApp chat or on Dojo. And hopefully we can get some folks to plug into that. The next thing on the agenda. So I wanted to bring I've been bringing this to a couple of different of the parent spaces that I'm in, but I wanted to bring it here to our PTA and tell people, I wanted to encourage folks to join the local county committee. So folks might know, but I'm fairly politically engaged in the neighborhood and in local politics. And the county committee is kind of the local political power where community members can join this committee, and you basically are representative of like your block or 2 blocks that you live nearby, and you advocate for interests of residents around you, but also interests of the community. And I've been trying to really encourage parents to join county committee, because county committees either historically has been a lot of older members of the community who maybe are not, maybe don't have young children, or young members of the community, young activists, college level folks, but not a lot of parents. And I think if we talk about like issues around our schools and, getting funding to our schools and making sure that we're getting politicians that are addressing our needs. Having that local political power is very important for parents. So if anyone has any questions about what county committee is or the process to join, please reach out to me. I'm speaking specifically to the parents that live in the Lower East Side, but if you don't live in the Lower East Side, if you're not registered to vote in this neighborhood, and you want to learn about the county committee and the neighborhood that you live in. So I know some of y'all live in East Harlem, some of y'all live in East New York. I can help you with connecting with those communities as well if you're interested. Cool. So that was my little political pitch. Any questions on that?
Hi, Sean. Thank
Go for it,
you
Michelle.
for mentioning, yes, and for mentioning that. I actually seen something regarding that about 2 days ago. Community boards and actually encouraging, like you said, a lot of parents, PTAs, a lot of neighborhood members to actually join, because as you said, most of the committee is based off of older white gentlemen. And a lot of their voices get heard. A lot of their inputs is actually what creates what happens in our area, in our schools, in our zones. There's not too many parents. There's not too many younger folks that would like to speak up into their community about what's going on. The only thing I guess I was in question of with it is, what is the, I guess, your responsibility once you join it, or what is the level of commitment once you join the boards?
Yeah, great question, Michelle. And that point on it being like a lot of like older white men making decisions for communities is really important. I think we need to make sure that we're striking the chord of diversity, and not only diversity on race, but diversity in gender, diversity in economic status, diversity in age, all that kind of stuff is really important. There's 2 things. So one, you brought up the community board. So that's actually separate from county committee. The community board application is open right now citywide. So if you want to join your local community board, community boards are basically like advisory boards for the community, and they have a lot of input, and they sway a lot of decisions for local officials. The community boards are a bigger commitment, so they're usually like a monthly meeting, which can be 3 to 4 hours. Some of y'all experienced that when we did some advocacy for our local park. And then usually when you're on a community board, you also join a committee. So you might join a committee on youth questions. You might join a committee on land use, committee on nightlife, whatever it is. And that's like an additional meeting. So if you join a community board, that can be like a 5 to 6 hour a month commitment. The county committee is separate. County committee is a local body that's tied to the political structure of the community. It's not the community board. The county committee helps with electing people during special elections. The county committee helps with making sure that our polling sites are well equipped during election season and being working the polls. So if anyone's interested in getting paid to work the polls, please let me know. I can set that up for you. And the county committee is involved in like local issues. That though is a smaller commitment. There's only one mandatory meeting every 2 years when on county committee, one every 2 years. And then everything is based off of how much you can commit after that. And I can share more resources on Dojo and in our WhatsApp chat about what county committee is and what community boards are and the timelines for applications. But basically it's February. A lot of these applications and these processes need to be kind of solidified before March 1st. And if you live in Brooklyn, I know we have a lot of Brooklyn residents. I think the deadline is March 4th. Awesome. Cool. So let's move into our SLT report. Did Darlene have to drop off? I think she did. She has her camera off. Chris.
I'm still here, Sean. I'm kind of trying to do 2 calls at once.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to see.
That's okay. What's up?
I wanted to see if you could speak to the pros or pros or however we say it.
Sure. So PROS is a program that's designed for schools that want to have flexibility in the way they program instruction, scheduling, and the way we would normally do school. So one of our teachers always uses the metaphor that if you imagine the UFT, our teacher union contract, was a balloon, having a PROS contract as a school is turning that balloon into a balloon animal. And so while you still have, the contract, you're able to have flexibility with the contract to meet the needs of the students and in your school specifically. So there have been things that we've been able to do as a school through what's called an SBO, a school-based option. When we have been able to do that, we've had the opportunity to do our professional development half days, where our university settlement after school staff watches our students while the teachers engage in professional development around equity, social justice, and tweaking our curriculum to meet some of our needs when it comes to equity. As a, SBO option, we can only do certain things like that for a certain, for that specific school year. As a PRO school, you'd be able to do it for 5 years. And of course, during those 5 years, if you want to tweak anything or revise anything in the plan, you could. Some of the things that we're also thinking about that we've been able to do pre-pandemic that we would be able to do as a PRO school is providing the January progress reports. So having that additional kind of quick check-in, almost type of report card, because really the gap that we're talking about is from November to March. That's when the official report cards happen. So being able to have a January progress report gives us another window to see how your child is doing, and to give parents and teachers time to really plan for ensuring that a child is promoted and doesn't get held over. So being a PRO schools allows us to change aspects of the UFT contract that we normally wouldn't be able to because it is a legal and binding document. So 65% of our UFT staff would have to agree to being a PRO school. That would happen in January of 2023. Once we were approved for being a pro school, we would then have to specifically outline what are the different things that we would want as a pro school, and then we would have to vote on that again. So thanks, Sean, for providing some context in the chat for me. Yes, the UFT is the United Federation of Teachers. That's the teachers union. And so all of our teachers have the right to say whether or not they want to have flexibility within the contract or not. And it has to be a 65% vote. So right now as a school, we know that we want to make sure that we are reaching out to families, to our school leadership team, as we think about this process basically over the next year. So you're going to hear more about being a pro school, what that's like, what we would want to do as a pro school. And then we will, spend, the next year or so really trying to make sure that all of the stakeholders involved have a say in whether or not we become a pro school. So we're taking the time right now to really start to introduce the concept. And it's something that you'll hear about at our PTA meetings, at our SLT meetings, at our town hall meetings. We're going to continue to really try and send this message out so that we can make sure that families are aware of what's happening and how it will impact their child.
Yeah, awesome. Really quick, darling, because I know we tried to become a pro school in years past, and it didn't fully. We didn't fully make the transition or something. Can you play devil's advocate and just say like what are the drawbacks of becoming a pro school, if any?
Sure. I can turn my camera off for a second and turn my camera off in this other meeting. So I think that the positives are that, the teachers are all like-minded in that the things that they want are actually things that will have a positive impact on students. And so I think sometimes when you have a pro school and the teachers are very driven towards what matters to them the most or what, themselves, sometimes you can find a situation where pros can be something that's kind of negative because teachers are kind of utilizing their power to possibly do things that might be unfair to families, whether it's having too little of instructional time. So let's say you could increase lunch to be like 2 hours if you're a pro school. You could increase the kind of programming that students can get to be more watered down or not culturally responsive to student needs. And so there are, you could take advantage of the parent engagement time that we're supposed to have every Tuesday for a certain amount of time, and possibly say that you're going to allocate it towards something else that maybe more teacher work time, as opposed to allocating a specific time where you're either going to meet with families or focus on doing work that is directly linked to engaging families. So those are some of the negatives. I think some of the pros are if you are in a school culture where everybody is like-minded in that they want what's best for kids, want to work hard as teachers and ensure that they're providing instruction that is not only catered to kids academically, but also catered to our students socially, emotionally, culturally, that it can be a really positive thing, because if everybody in the community is in agreement that we're willing to have flexibility if it's going to help our students, we're willing to go above and beyond and possibly, let's think about taking our parent engagement time. And instead of having 40 minutes every Tuesday from 2:35 to 3:15, when parents aren't available, let's combine those 2.5 hours a month and actually make it an evening parent workshop where we can go on Zoom and families can come together and talk about their big concerns, or we can support families in learning about the kind of math that we're doing, because that's always confusing to people. And so really thinking about how to be more strategic with the way we're allocating our instructional time, our professional development time, and our family engagement time. And so when we think about the things that we would want to do as a school, it really benefits one of those three buckets. And those are the things that, we really care the most, we care the most about as a community.
Thank you so much, Darlene. And I'm sure, like you said, we're going to have more conversations about this in the coming months. I just wanted to alert our folks in the PTA about it. It was a conversation that we had at the SLT. I'm not sure if we'll have it on next month's agenda at the SLT, but definitely another reason to join our SLT meetings so you can be involved in this conversation. And that's the first Monday of every month. Chris, did you have any other takeaways from the SLT meeting that you think that folks should be alerted to?
Surveys. We're not exactly sure how the SLT and folks are going to get everyone to take the surveys. That's probably going to be also on the agenda for next meeting. There were a lot of different ideas as to the surveys being sent out to parents with the kids, if we're going to have tents outside the same way that we do the different PTA events, like we're about to do the candy grams tomorrow. The kindness grams tomorrow, and how we did the bake sale, or if we're going to send it out as a link. But those were all ideas that we had, but we are trying to get 100% of the parents to take the school survey. So that was a big takeaway from the SLT yesterday.
Yeah, it's like the census. We need everyone to do it so that we get a big picture of what the needs are. And if we're talking about like developing curriculum and where we're investing Title I funds and all this kind of stuff, we really need to make sure that we get that 100% response rate. So we should figure out too, once we get the plan solidified by the SLT on how the surveys would be administered and all that, how we as a PTA and as parents can support and encourage other parents to fill out the survey. So we'll talk more about that next month, I'm sure. Thanks, Chris. All right, cool. Moving along in the agenda here. We're doing pretty good on time. We got Title I report updates from Helen.
Hi, everyone. Just be quick because I have to jump off. But so just wanted to update everybody that pull together some like survey questions for teachers and for parents regarding what you wanted covered in the Chromebook workshop that I'm trying to put together, along with the IT guy. I keep referring to him as the IT guy, but his name is Severin. And then another star parent, Jack, who I'm glad was able to join us tonight, is also going to help us in putting this workshop together. In the previous meeting, Jack did mention a few painting apps, and one of them is called Kids Paint, which is available on the Google Play Store. And I actually looked it up, and it's free, which is good. And I think we also talked about in the last meeting about possibly getting like a stylus pen for the kids. And I found one that could work. And what I did is I emailed the company to see if they offer any educational discounts if we were to purchase them in bulk, because as of right now, they sell them in packs of 2 and they're like $9 for 2. So I'm just waiting to hear back from the company. And that's about it. So if anyone has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Just please keep it brief because I really gotta go. Sorry.
Thanks, Helen. Any questions on this stuff?
Okay, thank
Awesome.
you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Helen.
Have a good night. I'm sorry, I'm dying. I get up at 4 a.m. every day.
I feel you.
So, okay, bye, everyone. Have a good
Bye,
night.
Helen. All right, cool. So moving along here in the agenda. Finance report, I think it's the same, right, Chris? It hasn't adjusted any because we met like 2 weeks ago.
No, it has not adjusted. It won't adjust until after the kindness gram. Then it'll be different for next month.
All right, awesome. So I drew that in the chat so people can look over our financial report, see how much money's in the bank. Cool. So that's the bulk of our agenda. We'll now move into a portion of open discussion, question and answers. So anybody want to bring anything to the floor?
Hi.
Hey, Michelle.
Hi, yes. From our last meeting, I remember we were talking different things, and at that time I didn't really have much. I just had some ideas. A few things I guess I wanted to mention was I was wondering like if we can somehow start integrating, I guess, things that are happening like socially right now into some sort of Q&A for the kids, like the Bronx fire that had occurred. Because one of the things that my daughter has been mentioning to me periodically lately, every time she sees like a fire truck or what had happened around around the corner from the school on Avenue A with the stationery store and things like that. So she had a lot of questions on fire and fire safety, and that was one of the things that has been playing a lot lately. We've been seeing a lot of fires, gas explosions, just as far as Brighton Beach, I think it was Bay something the other day, last weekend. So is there some way that we can start or incorporate some sort of learning or bring in the fire department or something like that to really like push that fire safety rules in the home and what that would look like, for each person's home, or each individual and fire safety, what that means to them?
Yeah. So on this, we can develop any kind of like workshop and forum that we want, like inviting a fire fighters or the fire safety agent from the local fire department. They're always down to do that kind of work too. We also too can see if it's stuff that maybe might be appropriate for the town hall. That happens monthly with Darlene, like if we can add these things onto the agenda, because sometimes people get like meeting fatigue. So instead of like creating an additional meeting, maybe it's something that tags on to something like a town hall. And in terms of like how we do it, it's really just like creating, like jotting down the idea more formally, and submitting it to the board, and then us kind of like helping you execute it. So whether it be like like you want to go over to a local fire department and do the outreach, and the board can support by setting up the event on Dojo and the Zoom credentials, and coordinating with you and the firefighter to set up that kind of event. And then also too, I think your idea of like just doing more regular kind of like workshops and stuff for our families with issues that are relevant to our community is something that we should try to get into the practice of. So that's a great idea. Did you want to try to see if we could do that in February or March? Try to set up some kind of event like that?
Well, I think, well, for me this month, I have an engagement, so I'm pretty busy this month, but that was something that I was thinking of, and just other things like the MTA, because I wound up finding out, like you said, not everyone that attends our school lives in our area. Some take public transportation on a day-to-day basis, but whether it be by bus or by the train, and just to, also those, just like what's been happening on the news, like, I've been noticing a lot of people talking about like train safety and PTA safety guidelines and what that should look like, and for the everyday average person. And as a parent, I know that it can be trying traveling with your children, during sometimes peak hours, or sometimes on the weekends during peak hours as well. And if you're engaged in a multitude of things, it can be very distracting. So just things like that would also, I try to go over with my daughter myself, like train safety rules, what that looks like and what that can look like, today, especially with the high crime rate, also the high mental disabled people that are on the trains, riding the trains right now, and having that understanding of what your overall environment looks like and how we can implement a safety plan. So it's just like some things like that I see that I've kind of been involved with personally myself, that I'm like, it would kind of be good to have like a reinforcement of that, so that the kids can know, like, okay, this is something that is part of our society, or my day to day, and I should be aware of. And how I can help, my parents to be safe, or help us keep safe, en route or in transit, going to and fro. So yeah, I do have those ideas. How to implement them, I'm not quite sure how. That's why I'm bringing it to the table, and maybe, like you said, jot down some ideas and be able to have that discussion.
Yeah, for any events, basically the process would be, kind of jotting down the ideas like you said, um, and then like submitting it to the board so that we can basically bring it to the attention of the staff, see if there's something that the staff can do to support, and then seeing if there's consultation that the board can give to you or anyone who wants to do an event, on how to organize that event and how we can recruit more parents and put out the call either on our WhatsApp chat or on our dojo or something like that. But I think those are great ideas. Did anyone else have any feedback from Michelle on those kind of events or ideas on how to get those events organized? Yeah, so Michelle, so I would say like maybe it's just as simple as an email that you send to me and to Shy, maybe. And Shy, I know you're on your SLT meeting for your daughter's school, but I'll get you Shy's email as well, so you can send it to me and Shy, and then we can kind of like run it through the channels and try to get it organized. Ellen, you had some thoughts?
Sorry, I wonder if there's like resources through like the New York City like awareness kind of uh section of like the city government or bureaucracy is part of, but I know there's always kind of like this push at a certain time of the year for like emergency preparedness. So I wonder if that's something that could be a resource potentially to either bring into the school or for us to get information to like share with parents or something along those lines.
Yeah, definitely. And there's also the FACE department at the DOE, which is like the family support department that is like our main, they're like a paid staff that if we say, hey, FACE department, a lot of our parents are really interested in doing a workshop on this. Their paid staff, they may be able to do the workshop themselves, or they'll have those kind of referrals that Ellen is talking about. Um, I would say with any event though, it really is key that we have the point parent, the parent that's kind of own the event, own organizing it. You might not know everything you need to do the organizing, and you'll get support from the other PTA members, but it really needs that kind of person that can kind of like keep it going, because otherwise it just becomes like a good idea that never really manifests. um and we all have limited capacity. We always talk about that. We're all doing a lot already. So with the idea, Michelle, if you feel like you can if you have like dates in March, that might be good to host an event like that or something like that. That would be good to attach in the email as well. So when we reach out to these folks, we have those kind of firm proposals,
Yeah, thank you. Because like I said, I'm pretty much new to all of this, and just listening more and just taking in everything and seeing where I can, lend a hand. But yeah, those were some of, like, as a single mom, some of the concerns and things that I see. Speaking to other parents, just in general, or just traveling, that you see happen, and with so much that's going on nowadays, and everybody's just like high alert and feeling, antsy. It's just like, okay, we can all use some sort of those type of support of stress relief to say, okay, everybody's on the same page, or everybody at home is on the same page, and we have the same understanding of what safety looks like, and what that looks like, not only at home but also outside. So I would welcome any information. Yeah, and I can, start, and I'm happy to hear that, you guys definitely support me because I know I'll probably make some mistakes along the way, but
Of
I would
course.
definitely be happy to try and address and reach out, like you said, the emergency response team, and see what that looks like, and what they're able to do.
Yeah, Michelle, I agree with Sean. I agree with your idea. I apologize. I was away from my laptop for a second. My daughter just came in from her game. She made it to the championship, so I'm super proud of her. But thank you. But I agree. If we have that parent who's willing to take ownership and say, hey, I will facilitate this, anyone who's had any interaction with me knows that you have me 120,000%. Like, I will definitely back you up. But when it comes to actually like facilitating, those kind of things are a little difficult, as Sean said, because we have so much on our plate. Michelle, you're part of, well, one of my members of a small group that we are starting. It is a little difficult because not everyone is vaccinated, right? And so waiting for people to get vaccinated is very hard to bring people in the building. We have the leverage to have adults and parents in the building as long as they're vaccinated. So the space wouldn't be an option. The timing wouldn't be so much an option if we're looking to do something come the spring. But I think encouraging families to be vaccinated is the first step, because even with the small group that I was starting, a lot of my families couldn't be a part of it because they're not vaccinated. So to make it more intimate, it's hard to do something like that over Zoom. Me and a parent was just talking yesterday about like Zumba dance classes and workout classes for how to, feel confident again, and getting your workout out. So I think all of these things are amazing ideas and things that I'm ready to support. That family engagement is a huge part of the community building and the school community. So I'm right on with you. I think that that's a super dope idea. So definitely shoot me an email, and like, I'll make it sound all fancy if you want. And yeah, you got my support on that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, that would be one of the things. And yeah, as I go along, as you said, and speaking to other parents, definitely encouraging, and the benefits of, because it is difficult. A lot of parents usually tend to want to be hands-on, and maybe even just to look at it as this, you have an opportunity to possibly spend a few minutes with your kids, in school, in the classroom, engaging with them, giving them that extra little bit of support, or, that little acknowledgement of, their time and their space of the day and where they're at. And I know for a lot of kids that can be very important, especially in these times right now. But it's very difficult, so, but I thank you very much. And I will be reaching out to you guys.
Okay, awesome. And yeah, and on that point, for anyone who ever feels like they want to get more involved, and they're trying to figure out a way to plug in, feel free to reach out, because there's probably, there's definitely ways to plug in, and I can put you in the right direction. Also, too, we have our fundraising committee, which is very focused, right? Like, we have kind of like our fixed fundraisers for the year. There is proposals that are put out, but it's fairly focused. But we don't have our events committee active at the moment. events committee, you know, kind of helping organize functions like this. You know, partnering with Shy, partnering with the board to develop cool programming. We have our wellness committee, which is hosting some really important parent support events. And Chris is looking always for more support on that. And now we're moving into the warm weather, so we'll be able to do some more outdoor events. But it, you know, Michelle and others, if y'all want to like be part of forming an events committee, that would be great too. Cool. Before we close out, any other thoughts, comments, anything you wanted to bring to the table? Don't feel like it's too random. Nothing's too random.
So glad you said that because this is super random. So any family that's on the call, if your child was told that they will be, that they need glasses, because I know there was no conversation on like what's the next steps. So if your child was told that they need glasses, Ion Education will actually be sending their glasses to the school in about 2 weeks, and then I will be distributing them to your child. And then I will message you so you can look out for them that they actually have the glasses. So if your child was seen by the eye doctor and they came home and was like, "Mommy, I'm getting glasses. I picked up some frames." Ion Education will be sending them to the school. And I thought this was super dope because it was a free program. Nothing we had to pay. And yeah, so look out for it.
Awesome. Thanks, Shy. That's great to hear. All right, cool. So I think that's it for the night. Just a reminder, Kindness Gram starts tomorrow. We still need some volunteers, especially in the morning hours. We're going to be going Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Deliveries will happen on Monday. So definitely, you know, purchase and contribute to the 5th graders. Our next meeting will be March 8th, Tuesday, March 8th, same time, 6 p.m. We have discussed the potential of a time change for our meetings for the spring and possible in-person meeting. So we'll talk about that in the coming weeks. So maybe the April meeting will be in person, maybe in the garden or the schoolyard, or, you know, we'll see what the COVID looks like in April. It might be inside. But yeah, just be on the lookout for a survey that we'll put out, kind of gauging what people's interest in terms of potential new time slot. I know 6 p.m. is hard for a lot of us as working parents. So that's it. Have a great week, and I'll see everybody at the Kindness Gram this week.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
See you all tomorrow.
See
Bye,
you
everyone. Good
tomorrow.
night.
Good night.